Good afternoon. It's Joyful Christian Hermit. I should be out doing stonework, but I need just a little more rest after physical therapy. Have been to the bank. I couldn't get up until at least 10:30 this morning. The dogs let me sleep in, and I slept during the night too. I mean, off and on. I had to get up and get new ice packs and then deal with my left arm pain, but it was nice to have some sleep. And now Mercy's here. Mercy, I'm talking. I'm going to read a poem. I read also a sermon that I want to share later, but I want to continue on with this poem number 2.3. I'll read by Gregory of Narek. Okay, Mercy, let's talk to the people out there, okay? You be a good girl and don't bark. She had major barking fest with some other dog that kept barking, and oh my goodness, it was getting a bit much. I heard other people out there shouting at them. I mean, dogs will be dogs. Humans are humans, are we not? Plenty of things to criticize humans about, especially ones that seem a little bit different. So don't do as we want, and I probably have offended my wonderful neighbor. She wanted to help paint, and the first day I couldn't get up in time. She wanted us to do it in the morning. The next day she did come, but I needed to have her do caulk first. I had to teach her how to do caulk. I had to go get the caulk and show her how. Then her hand got sore with the caulk gun after maybe 15 minutes or so. It does take hand strength, and she has arthritis in her hand. So do I. Oh my goodness, my little finger there is getting very bent. All of them are. I hardly pull them because I've been doing so much stonework, but and that's going very slowly, and she doesn't understand that. And last night was asking me texting questions, and I finally said, I've been doing tiling for years, and I know what I'm doing. I said, come over when I'm doing it, and then I'll show you and explain why it's taking longer because of all the corners and why I can't use the corner pieces that I bought. That there aren't enough of them, for one thing, and they're not really good cut in a way. They were formed in an odd way, so they don't make a nice crisp corner. I'm still using them. I can't waste the money, but I'm using them down low in places that won't show behind shrubs. But it's hard to explain these things to someone who's never done it. So she wanted to do painting, and I explained it wouldn't be till afternoon today because I had physical therapy then after the bank. But I think she's starting to understand that my life is governed by the pain, really. And she doesn't understand this, but God is in the pain. Love and suffering are in me, and God controls that. That's all God's realm, our suffering is. And we pretty much have to submit. If we don't, and just try to keep going, we're going to have a very difficult time of it. Like if I thought I could get up early this morning. There's no way I could get up. The pain was too great. And I fortunately just conked out, slept more. So awake maybe at 5, getting another ice pack and moaning around some with my arm. It hurts so bad when it's all on fire and numb until I can get the ice packs wrapped around it and wait a while, and then it simmers down. I basically freeze out the fire and then fell back asleep. But she's understanding. She was going to paint yesterday, and then things came up. She was cooking and people stopped by, her friends, and her husband was there, and they went to the graveyard to put flowers out. So things happen, and it's not, you just can't paint a house in a day. Even with a group of people, it wasn't going to happen. And I'd asked her, please wait till I can finish the stonework. Then we can do it together if you want to help. But she's not used to working or this kind of work. I could no more do the baking and cooking she does. I could not stand at a counter like she does or on a floor. You know, I couldn't do that. I know I couldn't. And hats off. She is the most marvelous cook and baker. Oh my, and so generous. But I think she's starting to see a little bit more of my life. And I hope I wasn't too curt last night at 10 when, she kept asking, well, why don't you use the corner? Why? And then you wouldn't have to cut. And why is it taking so long? Well, I have corners on these front pillars. I'm going to show you in a video. I'll explain it to you guys and you'll understand. But it gets frustrating and I have to not be frustrated. The PT man understands. He says, well, you're, and I said, I'm in a socioeconomic status that is not my education level, and I'm unique to them, and I'm different anyway. And I said, but I can't afford to be in areas that would have people that would be more tolerant of someone like me and who are like me themselves. See, so I'm, under scrutiny, and I'm around people who don't, like this other side, watching me for 2 and 3 hours. Just nothing else to do. They don't have anything to do, I guess. And now extra loud. Yesterday, extra loud with this young wife and mother, a young woman that she's manipulating to do things for her, and have, talking about the wine she wants her to go buy and how they'll get high, and they sound laughing loud and real loud because they knew I was out there and could hear. Just, it's so obvious to me, all these things, how that is. And I thought, oh, for pity's sakes, whatever. I was enjoying the peace and quiet until they wanted to make sure that they knew that I knew that they were, I don't know, I guess good friends or fine, great. Getting drunk on wine, that's fine, whatever they want. The old woman, my age, and this, maybe she's 35, and her 3 children, they weren't with her yesterday. I don't know. I wish she'd spend more time with her husband, but that's her business. So, and her children. But see how things can get. I wouldn't know if they weren't so loud and overt. But this young woman is trying then to get me to be back with this lady that the police say no, have nothing to do with them. I'm doing what the police told me. I don't want trouble with those people. Don't want any more sexual harassment, and I'm not going to let her manipulate me. She, says she can't see, but it's selective seeing, I've noticed. And to get other people then to do things for her, because her husband does nothing. He's a drug user. Pot. He's an old pothead, as they call it. So he just stays in now and doesn't even take the trash out. So, and that's terrible that I notice, but I know because I see her out there doing these things. But then with this young woman, acts like she can't do them. So it's a manipulation going on. And the loudness of it all and calling my name repeatedly, both of them now, knowing I'm not going to respond. I'm not involving with them. And they know. I've even told the young woman that, this is off limits for me. And I said, I'm not going to say why or talk to you about it. But I said it's on advice from the police, what they told me to do. So I said, you do as you wish, but I'm not getting involved with you and her. So how more direct can I be? So, but how I attract, I think God knows I will pray for them. I will, and I do. And in other situations, I act on it if I need to. Like when he did the harassment 2 years ago. It'll be 3 years this fall. I had to act on it. Can't let that happen and go on without making a police report. Um, so it's strange, and the spiritual is very involved. God utilizes me, brings people to me who are in need, and I have to discern and figure ways to keep myself extricated, yet praying for them. Or, like my dear wonderful neighbor next door, I do take the time to try to explain, and as much as she's been around me and come over when I've been in horrible pain ordeals, or when I've had to call the EMS or something. And so she knows at one level, but I think it's too hard for people to grasp, why I can't just do something, just can't say, oh, yes, I'll be available. And she wanted me to go to this place where they have wonderful burgers. Some place I hadn't heard of it, but special in the area, I guess. A specialty place. Oh, she would drive. I said, but I still have to sit to get there. And I said, the energy it takes me to go someplace, I said, I need to use for doing the stonework or the painting. I said, I'm not a fun person. I said, that sounds like a fun thing for two ladies to do. Her husband had gone off fishing with their eldest son. She was alone for the day and wanted something to do. And evidently her friends were busy or something, and thought it would be fun for me. No, eating isn't fun for me. I'm nauseated all the time. It's just not fun. It's not worth the money. I'd rather buy a perennial or two perennials for the price of a fancy burger. And to drive somewhere in traffic, even if she's doing the driving. So I explained that. I have to decide what is worth the energy. Dog's going. So it's the young woman with her one of her neighbor's dog that she walks had come down to visit this lady. So I think the young woman feels like she's helping old women who are lonely or something. I think her intentions are good. She just doesn't realize that she's being manipulated by this particular one. But and she's not going to involve me in it, though. She wants to thinks she can patch it up with us or something. I don't know. It seems that way because she keeps trying to get me to be friends with them and to chit-chat. And no, not going to happen. Oh, and I'm a hermit. But this part of the situation of being a hermit in today's world, if you can't go off out into the desert or in a cave or in the mountains or the forest, and you have to be close, and you have a disability and you have to be close to get groceries or close to get your doctor. So you'll have to figure ways to remain anonymous in a neighborhood, and that probably even seems strange to people. It's good that my grandson came. I hope he'll come back. He's back from his little vacation, but he helps normalize me to some of the people. It's amazing how they watch. And but I'm doing things. If they do something, it's because they pay someone to do it. And they usually don't do anything. I do because I need to keep my body moving. And I long to get out there and be doing the stonework because it takes me so away from my pain. But my body the pain is on top of me right now. So anyway, I even had to explain it to Father Vincent. I'd written to him when I was in a tizzy. And I was in a tizzy and not handling a situation well because my pain was out of control. So he gets this email, and so he's written this long email advising me about not worrying and this and that. And the whole thing's over. So I wrote back explaining, when I do that or write that, just understand I'm in pain overload and not in my right mode, and that I'm not really all that worried, but in the moment, because the pain, I can't uh, I can't put it into perspective correctly. That's where this brain thing's affecting me. Mercy, honey, don't tap on me. Don't scratch on me, honey. I'll get you a treat in a little bit. It's time for treats. She keeps track of all these things. How she knows. Dogs are smart. They're instinctive. It's mid-afternoon and it's treat time. I'll get you a treat in a little bit. You and Lovey can have in a little bit. I'm glad you reminded me. So, anyway, it's exhausting just explaining to people, but with him, I felt he needed, it was worth explaining. He hasn't been around me for 13 years. And even then, he never really witnessed a pain siege where I'm really out of it. Somebody left a message on one comment that I sounded like a zombie. Or no, that I was lobotomized, that I'd had a lobotomy. And I wrote back, no doubt, it probably did sound like that. You know, I think it was one that I kept having this instinct that I was just going to go unconscious. I sort of remember that video that I was struggling to stay in my body. So it was hard to speak, and felt like I was just going to leave, my mind was going to leave my body, which it does sometimes, but it hasn't done it in a video yet. So, sure, yeah, I get it. Sure, I did sound like I'd had a lobotomy. No, what are you going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? This is the reality of arachnoiditis at this level, and I'm accepting it already. I'm accepting, I'm adapting, and also have accepted there's nothing that the neurosurgeon can do, and nothing I can do but just try to keep pushing the body, push the body, push the body. And I can't please the HOA people. I can't help my neighbor understand any better than I have. No, we're not going to knock this house out in a day with painting it. And I think she learned real fast, even just putting caulk on. It's not the same kind of hand movement of, maybe she has a bread baking machine or something, or I would assume she hand kneads things. I don't know. I don't think she makes homemade bread, but she does like toppings, biscuits or things like that don't need kneading. But see, I'm in awe that she can stand and do all that cooking, and I'm grateful she shares it. She's the best cook. So here's this prayer. Just had to say those few things, sort of get it off of me. That I have to pray and watch my frustration levels with people. I understand them, but they don't understand me. And I have to accept that also. Now, the physical therapist gets it immediately. He's very bright, and he's worked with people who suffer and who don't have something that shows. Pain doesn't show, except in an extreme siege, when I'm going white or ashen colored, and vomiting or something, that shows then. But like the pain right now probably isn't showing, but it is stiff. It's bad, because I have to do so much bending with the stonework, especially since I'm still down in low sections. And I need to figure out a way to get I need the tile saw up higher. But I don't have an old table, and my sawhorses are all in use with stuff that's too heavy for me to lift off. So I'll do the bending for now. And praise God, I can get, it'll be really rough when I'm at the point where I can't do any manual labor and can't get my mind off it that way, off the pain. then I'll just be laying here in it and probably will zone out a lot then. So here he is. We'll see what this prayer is. 2.3. So far, every prayer has been right where I am, what I have felt and needed to be praying. But Gregory of Narek puts it into beautiful words and metaphors even. Why have you hardened the heart of my deplorable being to not fear you, who are ineffable and astounding? Let not my negligible labor be fruitless, like that of the planter vainly sowing the barren ground. Let me not be in labor without giving birth, lament without shedding tears, meditate without sighing, cloud over without raining, proceed without arriving, call on you without being heard, implore continuously without being heeded, groan without being pitied, beg without ever being helped, become a sacrificial offering, yet without being consumed by fire, see you without being rewarded. Hear me before I cry out to you, who alone are almighty. Do not hand me over to eternal suffering, punished as I am. Do not recompense me for my tallied days of sin, evildoer that I am. Well, that's true, I don't want to have this suffering eternally, forever. I want to know that God hears me. I want to know that He knows me and that He understands all of this. Why I do as I do. It's because I can't do otherwise. Like the older neighbor woman around the corner, I saw you bending to plant. Why do you bend to plant? Why don't you just crouch? Bend your knees down to plant. Don't bend over to plant from a standing position. You're planting standing. As if I would not do an easier way if I could, but people don't realize that I would because they can't perceive how it would be not to be able to bend your knees. I have a horrible left knee. It's huge. It's like a big clunk of concrete, but alive with nerve pain. Just to get down on it is excruciating. I don't. So, and then the other, I've got a low stool you can sit on. Sit. How many times have I told her I don't sit to eat? The only sitting I do is going to the toilet or driving a short distance because I have to. I don't sit otherwise. This is the most, slanted with my knees bent. So, see, I want God to understand me. I'm imploring with Gregory, do not hand me over to eternal suffering, punished as I am. I'm already punished. I want God to hear me, take pity on me. Do not recompense me for my tallied days of sin, evildoer that I am. I'm recognizing my wrongs, even being frustrated with others. I understand they don't get it, and I tell you, I'd be the same way if it weren't for nearly 41 years of suffering. I understand women and men who've been through divorce, painful divorces, because I've been through it. Otherwise, I'd probably be judgmental too. Like, well, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you stay married? Why couldn't you handle that? I've done it. I've stayed married, whatever. I would have been right in their shoes. Scam. We ignore it. So, let me find our little footnotes here. get to it. Well, these are mostly, in this poem, mostly are referencing Isaiah and Matthew. He's admitting his negligible labor, which is me. I don't get much accomplished. Maybe I did three square feet of stonework in about 5 hours yesterday. It's tedious. And the space is so short that I'm covering with corners on each end, maybe about 12 inches or 13 inches. And the pieces come in set length, so I have to cut. I have to use the tile saw and cut and fit these pieces in and then do the corners, do mitered corners, see. So it's very time consuming, very tedious. Here we have let's get, well, no, we're already into another prayer. So he wants to be heeded, to groan without being pitied, beg without ever being helped, to become a sacrificial offering, yet without being consumed by fire, to see God without being rewarded. Hear me before I cry out to you, who alone are almighty. To cry out to God, this whole prayer, this 2.3. So here's prayer 2.4. We'll go ahead and read this one. Grant me life, compassionate one. Hear me, merciful one. Show favor, forgiving one. Save, forbearing one. Defend, protector. Be benevolent, mighty one. Deliver, omnipotent one. Revive, restorer. Raise up again, astounding one. Enlighten, heavenly one. Heal, resourceful one. Grant pardon, inscrutable one. Reward with gifts, generous one. Adorn with grace, affable one. Reconcile, immaculate one. Accept, charitable one. Wipe away transgressions, blessed one. Thus, on that agonizing day, when I stare at the abyss on either side, I may also catch sight of your salvation, my hope and guardian. When I lift up my eyes to look at the most confounding, frightening path, may your angel of peace meet me kindly. Show me, Lord, on the day of my breath's departure, that pure spirit ascending with light to the happy ones in heaven, arriving there with gifts of your love. May you appoint me to the company of the departed righteous. May you grant me an unexpected kindness on the day of despair, evil though I am. Far be it for you, lauded one, who are the salvation of all, to designate a cruel beast as a traveling companion to lead me. Your sick sheep, now dead in sin, rather grant incorrupt life, salvation to me, who am devastated by transgressions. That's prayer 2.4. And in this, it has a footnote here. It's line 46. Show me, Lord, on the day of my breath's departure, that pure spirit ascending with light to the happy ones in heaven, arriving there with gifts of your love. May you appoint me to the company of the departed righteous. May you grant me an unexpected kindness on the day of despair, evil though I am. Far be it for you, lauded one, who are the salvation of all, to designate a cruel beast as a traveling companion to lead me. Here it is, where Gregory asked the Lord to be his companion on the upward journey at the end of life. I ask that of the Lord. Recognizing all my flaws, and my faults, and my sufferings, but I'm asking God to be my companion on the upward journey at the end of life. to be my companion on the holy narrow pathway. And here he has it in this last statement. Your sick sheep, now dead in sin, I'm the sheep, now dead in sin, rather grant incorrupt life, salvation to me, grant salvation to me, who am devastated by transgressions. So this is where Gregory contemplates his death, burial, and resurrection on Judgment Day. So this is prayer 2.5. I think we might go ahead and read this one, because this is such a good section here. Let me get to the, not that long, and it will, yes, this will be the last, then the next time we'll read prayer 3, the first section of it. So this is prayer 2.5. It's a series of questions that he's asking God. And he calls God by different names: my expectation, my caring one, my immutable one, my everlasting one. So here we go. Will you, Lord, my expectation, possibly forget your being benevolent? Will you forget being kind to me, in other words? Will you, caring one, neglect your being compassionate? Will you, immutable one, alter your love for humankind? Will you, everlasting one, withdraw your life-giving? Will you abandon the pleasant fruit of your mercy? Will you mar the gracious flower of your kindness? Will you dishonor the stately substance of your bounty? Will you change the glory of your resplendent white hair? Will you discard the fittingly pleasant splendor of your crown? I'm getting these little signals that my mind's going to leave my body. I gotta do something tangible here. I could tell. I didn't want to sound lobotomized. Since the merciful are blessed, then you, kingdom unto yourself, are full of blessedness. Will you not grant me full of salvation? Will you not offer a remedy for my wounds? Will you not have a salve for my injuries? Will you not provide a cure for my frailty? Will you not let light shine in darkness for me who trusts in your strength? You, gift of life to the universe, you alone have glory of your own, truly, an everlasting existence, attested ever since there was nothing. O blessed and glorified Trinity, eternally and beyond the limits of all conceivable infinities. Amen. So here he makes an allusion on this line 49. Here, since the merciful are blessed. That's an allusion to Matthew 5:7, and it's also by implication referring to the Beatitudes, the blessedness. Then you, kingdom unto yourself, are full of blessedness. Then here's another, it's a word in Armenian that occurs but one more time as a divine attribute, albeit in different words. He uses different words. So that's more of a technical footnote. And 51, the Trinity, the triune, the Godhead is what he's referring to. We would know that. Most of us know the Trinity is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But this poem here, I'm going to read through this final one because there were parts in here like, will you not offer a remedy for my wounds? See, this fits me anyway, because a week ago yesterday, the neurosurgeon couldn't offer any remedy. He was very sad. I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing to be done. we could try this different kind of block to help your mid-back pain. But the mid-back isn't really as horrible as my arm gets, especially in the night, or as awful as my head feels. Weird. It's like another dimension in this strange feeling. That's why I always take something in the truck if I'm driving anywhere. So if I start getting this sense that my pain is such that my mind is going to leave my body, I don't want that to happen at a stoplight or even while I'm driving. Even if it's like, it usually is stop and go traffic. But then I can sip, I can do something active, and it keeps my mind in my body. Now, if I were here alone and that started to happen, I would just zone off and be out of my body. And in a little bit, I'd come back in. I wouldn't have been asleep, but I would have been away from the pain. So, but I didn't want that to happen right in the middle of reading something. Because then somebody would write, you sound lobotomized. Have you had a lobotomy? You sound like it. Don't want to confuse people. No, I haven't had a lobotomy. It's part of this arachnoiditis, how it's affecting my brain now. I'm asking God, since the merciful are blessed, then you, kingdom unto yourself, are full of blessedness. Will you, God, not grant me full salvation? Please grant me full salvation. Will you not offer a remedy for my wounds? Yes, I want God to offer me a remedy for my wounds. Will you not have a salve for my injuries? Is there a cure? No. Will you not provide a cure for my frailty? My being so exhausted, frail. Will you not let light shine in darkness for me who trusts in your strength? There he's talking about, and me with Gregory, that I'm trusting in God's strength to get me through. I'm trusting that I'll eventually get the stonework done. You, gift of life, God, talking to God, you, gift of life, to the universe, you alone have glory of your own, truly an everlasting existence, attested ever since there was nothing. I'm trusting in God. He is alone in glory. And he's existed eternally. He's existed everlastingly. And it's attested that God has existed ever since there was nothing. We can't even fathom what life was when it was nothing, what existence was when it was nothing. All we know is existence. Our existence, others' existences, the world's existence. We can't even really imagine or understand. And here God tries to explain to us. He's, but he doesn't get frustrated. That's the difference. I get frustrated trying to explain and help people understand what it's like. And it's hard. Just like it's hard for me to understand God, to fathom God. And Gregory's approaching this. O blessed and glorified Trinity, eternally and beyond the limits of all conceivable infinities. Amen. He is. God is eternally and beyond the limits of all conceivable. We can't conceive of it. Infinities. We can't conceive of the infinities of God. He's beyond it all. And that's very helpful. I love this prayer. It helps all of us who have things that, frustrations, even for ourselves, I'm long past, why did this have to happen? I've pretty much analyzed, God wanted me for himself. God wanted me to share in writing, or now I'm doing it in videos, suffering and the spiritual life that I don't understand. It's hard to explain, but many of you have it. Many of you suffer or will. Everyone will. And the more we can explain, the more we can help each other at least grapple with it. And those who maybe haven't figured out yet that God has allowed the suffering as a good thing in our lives. For example, it will be marvelous when I'm no longer frustrated by all the questions. Or at least they're trying to understand, my neighbor's trying to understand. And she's trying to offer good suggestions, just as Father Vincent was. Thinking that I didn't know that worrying isn't good. It's pointless. Like Padre Pio said, pray, hope, and do not worry. But when you're out of it in pain and you don't have really much control over your pain and your mind is out of it with pain, but not out of my body, I'm still writing away. That's another mode I use to cope, is write. Or talk and talk and talk. It's a distraction. So I was writing about a frustration and a concern I have for someone. But the main concern is that I broached the topic, but that person I don't think understood that I was merely wanting to point out consequences so she'd be protected, know herself, and then try to do something, put her foot down, and not get herself into a position where she can be harmed. Not in something that's life-threatening or anything, but would be bad for an inconvenience and a embarrassment and a wrong that her good, valid, and honorable person doesn't want to have on her, I wouldn't think. But I don't think she understands that I'm not saying that this other person is bad for it all. Just needs to be solved and settled. These situations have to be handled. And she can't make herself vulnerable to something that's easily stopped. Well, not so easily. Not if you don't like confrontation. And who does? But sadly in life, sometimes we do. And it seems to me, in my life anyway, that God gives me things that push me to overcome what I don't want to do, I need to learn to do. Like there came a point where I had to learn to confront and face it, that I didn't want to confront because I was fearful of losing the love or the friendship of someone. So I didn't like to put my foot down, or I didn't like to be honest, or didn't want to. Sometimes we have a choice if we're going to say the truth or not. And I wanted to weasel around with it because I didn't want to risk losing a friend or losing someone who would help me. And like the pain doctor. So sometimes he has asked me to do things that weren't good for my spine. Like he wanted to do injections. And at first I let him do a couple, knowing from what I'd read about arachnoiditis that it makes it worse. But I didn't want to risk not having the pain doctor because I needed the medication and I knew it. But then as I got to know him better, I feel more comfortable explaining and putting my foot down. No, it isn't just if you don't do the injection in the spot of the messed up nerves. It's anywhere on the spine. It will have that effect on the arachnoiditis. See, so I have more trust that he's not going to abandon me if I insist. No, no injections. So, and I then did have, even though the neurosurgeon, they knew that it could make it worse, but they felt it was worth a try doing the spinal blocks that they did do. They didn't. This other doctor did, a specialist in it, went to him. But then he wanted to do a third, and I let him go ahead. And I shouldn't have. Because two that didn't work, why risk the arachnoiditis a third time? And it did. It made it worse. Made my pain worse. So I'm worse than I was last year this time. So, see that it's hard. Confronting people's hard. I have other things that are hard for me. Suffering's hard. Impatience. God has had to. He knows our weak points, in other words, and puts us through life situations that will give us more and more practice until we're very good at patience, or we're very good at tolerance, or we're very good at confronting in a nice way or a good way, or sometimes in a tough way. Like next door, I have to be very firm. No nonsense. But that's hard for me because I don't like to not be kind to other people. But in that case, no contact, no interactions means that. No harassment, no involvement with them. Not a good situation for me. I'm too vulnerable, the detective says. And he's right. They're targeting you because you're vulnerable. The man and his wife. Well, the wife was enabling the husband because she doesn't want to be alone. It's sad what we all put up with because we don't want to be alone. We don't have a built up enough relationship with God, enough trust to know that we're not alone. And so instead we choose to be with people who maybe aren't the best for us. But that's not always the case. Sometimes we're not going to have people that are perfect, especially if you're in midlife and are divorced. What's the pool out there? Like the physical therapist told me, he says, it's about that high with men, as far as eligible men who are really good, who are divorced and available to remarry. They're out there for a reason. And in our society, it's becoming the women too. Used to be the women more like me. I would have stayed with my ex-husband, let him be awful to me, cheat all the time, just for the benefit of the children. I was willing to sacrifice my being mistreated for the children to have a stable home, because at that point, he wasn't really horrible to the children. He had started to lose his temper too much. And that was sort of the final line when he did something that crossed the line with that. Then I was willing that if he left again, that was fine. He could stay gone. I wasn't going to be willing to take anything in order just to keep the marriage together. But now it's getting to the point where with more women wanting to take on male roles and have equality like men, want to be more like men in certain aspects of society and life, they're more off frequently the cheaters and the ones with the personality disorders who wouldn't be someone you would want to remarry. But still, the most of the women are the type that want to be married, do not want a divorce, and will put up with flaws, big flaws sometimes, and mistreatment in order to stay married. Oh, and those who don't, and they shouldn't stay married if they're in abusive situations. But the ones that they will meet aren't going to be the epitome of a great catch. There's a reason why they're single. They might be sweet and wonderful and loving, but not have much initiative, or not super sharp, or not or used to being taken care of or something. So then the woman or man, whichever it is, has to decide, can I handle that over time? Or will that grate on me too much? Will I get tired of being the one that's the main breadwinner, or the one always explaining or handling everything? So it's just something that people need to think through. I think that's why a lot of people in second marriages, when they're older, they might be engaged, but they never marry, or they cohabitate. And it's probably wise, given the circumstances. If they're compatible with another person, but don't want the liabilities, the legal aspects involved. If the other person decides to leave, then they get half of everything. In most states is 50-50 community property. So then you have to think about, is it a common law? Like if you just live with someone for 5 years or 7 years, then they can still have rights to have. So you don't want that kind of situation either. Or it's not prudent to do that. So find yourself a non-common law state. Go live there. And then you'll protect yourself. Or not, it's up to the person to decide then. If they don't care, these are just, situations in life that we deal with. And God knows our weaknesses and tests us, gives us practice material so we can grow stronger and get to know ourselves, and then try to overcome our weaknesses and learn to take, such as if we're fearful, to take a risk and to find out, how's this other person going to react if I am such and so way. And if they're a dependent person, they're going to react fine, because what are they going to do? Who's going to take care of them? So you really sort of have an easy practice lesson with something like that. And otherwise, it's, as my dad used to say, a crapshoot. It's a game of craps. It's a dice game where it's just chance. How are the dice going to roll, or if you're going to win or lose. So, in my case, I think what God is still working very much on me is frustration, my frustration level with pain, and of caring what people think of me. I have too much sense of self still, that I care if people don't understand and think wrongly of me by not understanding. I still feel I want to explain to them so they'll understand and not judge me poorly, or as they do. And I don't like to be harassed. I want to be left alone. Don't want to be pestered and harassed and lied about either. I like truth. So the devil knows, just to have somebody even take part of my blog, like this lady used to do, and she would twist what I had said to where it sounded ridiculous or wrong, theologically wrong, and would write it so authoritatively herself that it would put me in a bad light. See, I didn't like that deception. But I had to learn, who cares? How many even read what she writes? Well, they used to, but I don't think they care much now. Or I changed genre to get away from it. And I don't know how I would be as a writer now with my pain level. But I did notice in one of my videos, I had repeated myself. So that's not good. So, but it's part of the journey. And part of the acceptance of this arachnoiditis. And my physical therapist said, "Wow, you were having trouble before with the scientific names of the trees." And I said, "Well, I'm working on it. I'm working on relearning them and trying to keep my brain more practiced. It's hard work, and I'll have to decide, is it worth it? I don't know. You know, it was just something I noticed that I couldn't do anymore. I used to know every tree and its scientific name. Now I have to look at the tags repeatedly, and it doesn't make any difference really to me. It it's not a point of pride or anything. It was just sort of the shock of realizing what pain is doing to my mind, even to my body and my brain. But now that I've seen it, I've accepted it. But I'm still going to try to keep it active. Why not? So, anyway, thanks to St. Gregory of Narek for his prayers, and the one, he talked about, that he wished he would always have prayers with sighing, that he would pray with sighing, depth of feeling. And I guess I have never felt that I need that. I'm not particularly an emotive person. I'm getting a little more so with my emotional shifting, where I weep more easily, but it's usually from pain. I wish, it sounds wonderful to weep out of that kind of love and emotion for God, to be that emotive and honor Him with our tears. There is a gift of tears, even. It's a spiritual phenomenon, a mystical phenomenon. Well, I guess it would be called a spiritual phenomenon, where your love is that intense that you weep even speaking of Christ. Some of the saints had that gift. Saint Joseph of Cupertino, he would become so enamored and in love with God, when he would think of God, he would levitate. His body could no longer stay on earth. It became light. And he spent a great deal of his adult life floating around. He was in a community. He was a brother, I think. Wasn't bright or brilliant theologian or anything like that, but he loved. He loved so much. And his brothers would have to, grab him by the ankle and pull him back down to get something to eat. So that it's just his love. And that's the main thing. That's what the emotion is about, and the sighing. It's not just do it to be doing it. It's the love. So it doesn't matter if we have outer effects of love. It's what's within us, in our hearts. But love is the key. A tremendous love of God. Tremendous love of God. Love is the beginning and the end of everything. Love is God. So with that, love to you all, God's blessings and God's love in all of us, and have a beautiful rest of your day or night. Probably going to do a little garden tour again and show you about the stonework. It's fun to be, The alternative would be to be bedridden, and some of you probably are. The one person who had arachnoiditis, who I don't think watches the videos anymore, it was upsetting to her. Well, it would be to anyone to see somebody else with arachnoiditis but still able to be up. But it's at a great cost. I'm pushing, 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 but God has given me that blessing to be able to push myself and pain meds so that I can keep pushing, because I don't want to be bedridden until I absolutely can no longer push further. So, doing all I can to keep the arachnoiditis from progressing faster, even though it's basically out of my hands, except for driving myself, driving the body. I think of Jesus, whipping the money changers out of the temple. I'm whipping myself. So, love to you all. More later.